Hi, my name is Robin Wong. I'm a photographer based in Kuala Lumpur, Malaysia. I have with me the Meike 85mm F1.4 lens. In this video, I'll talk about why I think this is a great budget 85mm full-frame lens for Nikon mirrorless Z system. Let's do this! Before we dive in, here are some important disclaimers. Meike did send me this lens, the 85 F1.4 for Nikon Z full-frame mirrorless system. And I get to keep this lens after my review on this channel. But I made it very clear to Meike from the start that they have no control whatsoever on what I want to say and talk about this lens in my review. So this review is 100% independent, it is subjective, and I'm a photographer, so I'm not going to talk about the video performance of this lens. I've only done several shoots with this lens, so I'm going to share my experience as a photographer having used this lens for stills photographs. And I tested this lens on my own Nikon Z5. I brought it out to shoot this beautiful model Lily. So let's take a look at some photographs first. Let's talk about build quality, handling, and features on this lens. I do think that this Meike 85 f1.4 is on the larger and heavier side of things. The lens has to be larger than usual because it has a bright aperture opening of f1.4, and this is a full-frame lens. It has to cover a larger image circle for the full-frame sensor. It weighs about 735 grams. Despite its larger size and heavier weight, I do think that this lens balances very well on my Nikon Z5. When it comes to handling, I encounter no issues whatsoever, having used this lens on this camera for an extensive shooting periods. When it comes to build quality, the lens is made of full plastic construction, except for the mount. The lens mount is made of metal, that's appreciated, but other parts of the lens is made of plastic. And it doesn't scream premium, it doesn't pretend to be a pro-grade constructed lens, but for a price tag of a budget lens, I do think that the plastic construction is very well made. There's no creaky parts, it doesn't feel too cheap, and it feels quite reassuring in hand. There are 4 controls on the lens itself. You have the manual focusing ring, you have the aperture ring, which is truly appreciated. You can change the f number on the lens itself through the aperture ring. Controlling the aperture, you can feel the clicks at every f-stop changes. And also, there is the customizable function button on the lens. You can customize the shortcut to any other features or controls on the camera. And finally, there's the autofocus to manual focusing switch. The lens itself is not weather sealed. For this price tag, I don't expect it to be. Overall, I think that Meike does a great job when it comes to features, handling, and build quality of this lens. There is nothing to complain really for this price tag, but at the same time, there's nothing to write home about. When it comes to optical construction, Meike claims that they use 13 elements in 8 groups in this 85mm f1.4 lens. They also included some special glasses, that's 4 extra low dispersion lenses and 2 high refractive lenses. Meike didn't skim when it comes to really good recipes being used for the lens construction. Now when it comes to image quality, I'm generally very impressed with what this Meike 85mm f1.4 lens can do. Shooting a wide open f1.4 aperture, I can get really sharp results. Images come out sharp, full of fine details, very good contrast. If I stop down further to f1.8, f2.8, the sharpness improves a little bit, but I will not hesitate to shoot wide open. The lens is already super sharp wide open. The lens also renders really beautiful looking bokeh. The defocus area, it looks smooth, buttery, it is not distracting, it is not nervous. The smooth bokeh with the sharp foreground, it renders this very nice three-dimensional pop, and images, especially if you're shooting portraits with this lens, your portrait subjects will look really beautiful, and there's that realistic rendering, and there's that three-dimensional quality to your images. Now the lens, because it uses 4 extra low dispersion lenses, which I didn't believe in the first place, but as I was looking for purple fringing or any traces of chromatic aberration, I couldn't find any. Even shooting a wide open aperture f1.4 in high contrast situations, the images are almost free of any traces of chromatic aberration, and that is a great job done, Meike. I'm really impressed. Distortion is very minimal. If there is any, it can be easily corrected. Overall, this lens, I think, in terms of optical quality, is truly remarkable for the price tag that you're paying for. This Meike 85 f1.4, it does not handle flare very well. Whether you're shooting wide open f1.4 or if you stop down, you'll encounter some problems. Shooting a wide open, you have some haze problem. There is this haze that's covering the entire image. It just looks soft, and somehow you lose contrast. If you stop down further, shooting against strong source of light, you do get this ghosting and blobs of light that can be very destructive to your image, and they are not easily corrected. The starburst effect on this lens is actually looking very beautiful. The lens has 12 aperture blades, so this contributes to the nice looking starburst or sun stars if you need to achieve that kind of effect in your photographs. Autofocus performance on this lens is actually very good. I have no issue whatsoever using the human face eye AI tracking detection for my model shooting. Of course, generally autofocus is fast and very accurate, having used this lens on my Nikon Z5. Another thing to note is the corner performance of this lens. It is not particularly great. If you shoot wide open f1.4, you do suffer some corner softness and vignetting, but if corner performance is very important, then I suggest that you start down to f2.8 or f4 to get more uniform performance from corner to corner, edge to edge. And one thing that I really don't like about this lens is the minimum focusing distance. You get about 1 meter between the camera and the subject. That is not good enough. I do prefer to have this lens being able to go closer to the subject to open up more opportunities for creative compositions. For example, shooting a plate of noodles or some product shots. But being 1 meter away from the subject is very limiting, and the magnification factor on this lens is very poor. Overall, I'm very impressed with what Meike has done with their 85 f1.4 for Nikon Z mirrorless system. For the price tag of about 2,200 ringgit, you get a lot out of this lens. Optically, this lens is excellent. You get wide open aperture f1.4 shooting sharp images with plenty of fine details and really good contrast. And the bokeh f1.4 aperture looks beautiful. It is buttery smooth. smooth, it is creamy. There is that three-dimensional pop from the images coming out from this lens that I really like. The lens also manages lens technical flaws very well. You don't see any traces of chromatic aberration. Distortion is very well controlled. There are not much to complain about when it comes to this lens. Of course, there are two things that I don't like. It has poor minimum focusing distance. I wish the lens can go closer to the subject. And in terms of flare control, well, this lens, it is best that you don't shoot this lens against any strong sources of light. Then again, these are small problems. They are not deal breakers. Considering the budget price tag, I still think that this lens is a great lens, and I highly recommend this lens for those budget-conscious shooters using Nikon Z mirrorless system. That's all I have to share about my short review of this Meike 85 f1.4 lens. I hope you've enjoyed looking at my photographs. If you found my sharing beneficial, please consider buying me a cup of coffee, or you can contribute directly to my PayPal. Links in the description below on how you can do that. Any small contribution goes a long way. It will definitely help me to continue making more content and publish them right here. Until next one, please go out and take more photographs. Bye-bye.